G'day guys, welcome back to the Time Bomb channel, and in for a review today we have the VALIMOR KILGHARRAH. That's ref AR001G, a very ambitious micro brand that has a design ethos that is as unshakable as it is well considered. Hope all is good in your part of the world, and before we get into the watch, just wanted to give a massive shout out to Mr. E over at Mr. E's Watch Reviews for sending me this one. It hasn't come from the brand, so it's not a paid or sponsored review in any way. So again, thanks Ed, really appreciate sharing the love. I have to confess that when I first saw Ed review this, I thought, the colours to me just really aren't my preference. Gold, I don't own any gold watches, and it's just not something I think that goes particularly well on my wrist. But when I've taken the watch out of the box, I've got it in hand, my perceptions have changed. I would still change the colour of this one, but the watch itself I think has a lot more going on that makes it really very interesting. So let me just pause there and focus in. Yeah, so what I was referring to about the watch actually working when you've got it out of the box in hand, I think one of the reasons is that they've used a really limited amount of high polish on the watch and on the steel, and I think it's the ideal proportion. It's I don't know. I get the concept of polished steel, but I think that brushed matte steel just looks so much better on a wristwatch, and it carries all of those dings so much better as well. And then it allows other aspects of the watch to shine through, if you excuse the pun. If, however, like me, that blue, silver and gold combination isn't your ideal palette, these do come in a range of other colors. I think particularly this all blue version really hits the perfect balance of sports watch in blue really very well indeed. And then my preference for the Black Knight Award goes to this DLC version. The design concept of armored knights and medieval magic, to me, it's got to be black, and just that little splash of golden color. A little bit of background then on the watch also, or sorry, on the brand also. VALIMOR is a portmanteau of valiant and armor. So add to that brand name the combination of Gothic design, the Knights of the Round Table, and you're really starting to build up an impression of the thought process that's behind these watches. You want to wear something on the jousting field, this is going to be it. I believe that they started on Kickstarter and they moved on, rapidly in leaps and bounds with huge success, even to the point of having UFC fighter Dustin Poirier serving as a brand ambassador. Not a bad rise to fame for a little old micro brand. So onto some key specs then. These are 40 mils across, but you certainly will need to add on quite a few mils. I think at least to 43 with this very pointy crown. North to south though, very manageable at 48 mils only. Adequate 22 mil lugs here, and then it's quite a deep dish affair, running in at 14 mils from the top of the crystal. And I think, not due to the crystal, but I think more to that very low-hanging, I was going to say low-hanging fruit, low-hanging case back that you have on here, but more on that later. The other thing that I liked about the watch as I took it out of the box is the heft. It feels brilliant. I mean, the steel of this is unashamed, and it's fully proud of itself. I'm getting 150 grams, and this is sized on for Ed's wrist, which is around 7 inches. So if you're above the 7 inches, your weight is going to increase there, unless of course you then went for the rubber strap version. Again, more on that in a second. The dial, it's where it is. A wise man once said that the secret to a watch's success is all in the dial. He completely ignored the movement or anything else. But it's a triple layered construction, and I think this is where you start to see the huge amount of detail that is on offer here. We've got flourishes around the rehort, a font used both on the bezel and dial that's clearly been taken straight out of King Arthur's autobiography. You have an inner raised minute track with little golden dot hour markers, and then that waffle dial, again with that slight gradient effect, center outwards. Add to that your golden rimmed markers, hour markers, etc., and there really is plenty to get your eyeballs excited about. Up top, of course, we have a sapphire, and I was looking at it the other day, and you can see you get some monstrous distortion of it. It's got a huge inner curve there, and you know, they haven't modified that in any way. I mean, it's a brilliant distortion of that. But it's not raised too much at the top. Let me just show you a bit closer there. So again, I think the crystal is an excellent choice on this one. Much better than if it were a flatty, or you know, with something even more protruding out the top. I think it's just ideal, especially where the bezel just you know, rises to the center also. The bezel, while we're talking about it, then includes a ceramic insert, and obviously that golden rim on the knurling there, which is angle cut, a little bit like a buzzsaw. It is a 60 clicker. Let's just shut up and have a listen. So quite heavy and should I say almost industrial. It aligns fairly well, and I'm hoping this is a prototype because it's super super wobbly in those 60 clicks. I think they're all, or maybe is it because the click is too big, the click spacing is too large. Everywhere you go, it's really loose. So again, I'm hoping that this is a prototype that they've sent to Ed for review, and that, you know, a watch that you would buy, especially considering the price, you know, would be much better. Yeah, because you can see it's sitting really quite loose on there. Everything else on the watch is very well finished, again leading me, that's again part of the reason why I'm thinking that something else is going on here. The hands, as we can see on the dial then, are of course diamond cut, and they are sword hands, only as you would expect. And then also notice the mini fleur-de-lis on the counterbalance of the seconds hand. I referenced the crown earlier. It's a push-pull, and notice that the crystal in here is a Swarovski. Kind of reminds me of the jewels in the pommels of a sword. Pop that out. Yeah, it moves around very well. No issues at all there. Yeah, I'm a big fan of screw down crowns, but anyway, so I think, yeah, obviously being a push pull, this only gives you 100 meters worth of watery goodness. I mentioned previously about the case body and what I liked about it. As I say, the brushing on here, it's just perfect. That's exactly how all watches should be, isn't it? There's just that fine edge on the shoulder there, adds a little bit of shine. But anyway, the lugs, I mentioned them just briefly on the north to south. For me, they're a little bit non-existent, that curve down, and that's all because of that deep dish at the bottom of the case back. I think the VALIMOR guys have put probably about as much detail on the case back as they have on the front of the watch. Let me just, I'll pop up some close-ups here so you can see it better. Obviously that beautiful custom rotor, and the movement as well, looking really rather nice. It's a Miyota 8315, so it's nice not to see a microbrand using an NH35. And by all accounts, the 8315 is a solid, accurate movement with a very decent 60-hour power reserve. And what I was referencing earlier, as I just felt it as it was moving here. Yeah, there's a quick set date in there as well, so ghost date position on this movement also. Yeah, hacking as well there, as you can see. I was going to say, yeah, the other thing is I noticed the equivalent levels of knurling around that screw-in case back there. I'm quite sure how you'd get that out or what you'd use to get that out. Oh no, sorry, I'm looking through the camera. I can see, yeah, okay, so we've got our indentations here, you know, for grippage there, so it's purely artistic. I know sometimes you can get those case backs which have, you know, a specific unit to spin them off. The bracelet, again, just oozing that armor, dragon scale aesthetic. Try saying that one when you're still on your first coffee in the morning. Really, really nice. Again, it fits and feels very comfortable. Decent tolerance in there as well, but they've gone with a butterfly clasp, which means that sizing is a little bit frustrating because those links, you're either tight or you're on point. Let me just throw it on wrist as I'm saying this. So as I say, on wrist, my wrist is 7 1/4. I think despite the luggage drop being reduced by that low case back, it sits very, 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 very well on wrist. I say it looks very nice and it feels very good as well. I know that's an absurd thing to say when you're doing a watch review. How does it feel? Well, to me, it feels pleasant on wrist. As I say, the bracelet I'm very impressed by. It's a better bracelet, for example, than the bracelet I got on my Seiko Willard the other month. Okay. Yeah, so the other thing I wanted to reference is is the other strap that this came with. This is their rubber version. As you can see, again, just packed with detail here. Lovely flourish design there, and again pre-curved. And yeah, this one comes with a DLC, again with some lovely detailing on there. I think really for it to match here, it needs to be silver because it is black. They could have done an aged silver for that one, or maybe they have done. The other thing I wanted to talk about was that you can see you've got the double releases. Again, I'll do a close up. You've got the double releases in there, and not seen those for quite some time. Let me just pause there and throw that other strap on. Yeah, so as I was saying, I've not seen these double releases in quite a long time. I'm struggling to remember when I did actually see them, but it makes for an absolute breeze in removing and fitting that. No need for drilled lugs or anything. Yeah, spot on. And this is the watch then on that rubber, and as I say, it looks very, very good, and it's that sporty look to it, isn't it? Let me just throw it on wrist here to show you what it looks like without knocking the camera flying. Yeah, spot on. Nice. The curves on the shoulders there, I think as well, just add to the comfort and fit. Again, that's another problem that I've got with the Willard, is that the rubber straps that I'm using, they just drop straight down, so they end up pushing really quite a lot here. You get a lot of indentation left on your wrist print. But yeah, solid, very, very solid, very impressed. Oh yes, sorry, I nearly forgot, for the Lume junkies, we have Super Luminova. It looks like this. I think it's best to say that the fill and the glow is applied perhaps in finer stripes than it is, say, in huge dollops and great broad bands. But again, I think that's probably due to the design choices that they've gone with, with making things a little bit angular and slithery. These are, I think, limited editions, and I believe there's 50 of each colorway only. They do come in at a fairly hefty 480 on this rubber, and then 580 if you plump for the steel. I'm going to suggest that perhaps that is due to all the heavy detailing that's going on here. I think the micro brand, though, the market is really booming, and so in order to be competitive, I'm wondering if the pricing might put some people off a little bit in the first instance. But on the other hand, on the wrist, Valimor have decided upon a very clear design inspiration, and they've stuck to it solidly. There's no appealing to alternate markets. You say, right, this is what I want to design, this is what I want to put into my watch, this is what it's going to look like, and they've done it, really very well indeed. The level of detailing, suggests that the Valimor guys are obsessed with micro details. So I'll be keen to see if any of their future releases manage to hit that perhaps slightly more minimalistic mark. Very difficult to do, I think. Maybe they shouldn't do that, because clearly the detailing is what defines them, sets them apart, and that's their brand identity. Anyway, as always, guys, these are just my thoughts. Over to you. What's your take on these armor sword inspired beasts? Yeah, really look forward to your comments as always. Thanks for your time and for your view and for watching through until the end. Catch you all in the next watch vid. Cheers, guys.